before I ask my conclusion question,
Mhm.
thank you so much for joining the podcast. I learned so much from you. So thank you so much for all of your answers. And yeah, it's been a real pleasure to learn
Oh,
from you today. So you told me the Monell Center has been working for 55 years now. So I wanted to conclude the podcast by asking how this research and achievements have shaped the future of this field and our industry, and what is the most important topic to focus on for future research in olfaction.
okay. Well, apart from all the scientific discoveries that have been made by Monell scientists, I want to also highlight the fact that we consider one of our major missions is the training of new scientists in the chemical senses, because there really aren't programs in universities and colleges to do this. Most people that come to Monell do so without a background in smell and taste in the chemical senses. And so we think that's very important. And we actually like to bring people in who come from different fields and then introduce them to this area. Now, whether they become a chemosensory scientist fully or they simply gain an appreciation and incorporate some of that into their work, the Monell Center, I would say, is equally proud of all of the people who have come through the laboratories at Monell and now work in industry or academia or government all over the world. And so that's, in addition to the scientific discoveries, I think that is one of our other major products that we are most proud of, is the training of scientists in this important area. And to get to your second part of the question, what is the most important focus in future research? I just spent 2 days at a workshop that was trying to understand both the what we call the normal aging of the olfactory system and when the olfactory system is a biomarker for other disease states. And we've always known that neurodegenerative disease, when I say always, in my time in the field, it's always been known that neurodegenerative diseases are preceded by, in many cases, olfactory loss, even before you have memory or cognitive dysfunction, or let's say in Parkinson's, motor deficits. Um, but they've never really been used as a diagnostic until now. And part of the reason is because there are other reasons you might lose your sense of smell. It's not a definite diagnosis. It's not that sensitive. It is specific, though, because people can tell you if you're 64 years old and you have a very good sense of smell, it is almost not likely that you will develop any, neurodegenerative disease within the next 10 years. That's how predictive it is of continued good health. So now we have a lot of people who have lost their sense of smell at a very young age due to COVID, which is something that was both a terrible experience and in my field actually allowed us to make some amazing discoveries about what goes wrong when a virus attacks the olfactory system. And so now we need to look to the future health of those individuals. Is it really that the sense of smell is a biomarker of these other processes, or is there something about the loss of smell that causes changes in the brain? We know the smell is part of the limbic system, which is our emotional regulation system. People who lose their sense of smell are often depressed, and it's beyond, I just can't enjoy food anymore. It's actually a clinical depression. So there's a lot we need to know and understand about the next 20 years in this saga that we're going forth. And if it is as much of a biomarker of a health endpoint as we're coming to believe it is, we think it's very important that everyone gets this sensory system tested at least a couple times, particularly as you are hitting middle age and getting older as well. So those are where some of our most important initiatives are being focused at the present time.
And right now, olfactory testing is not typical at all, or is it typical in if you have signs of Parkinson's, will they say let's do an olfactory test or not?
Some clinics will do that, yes. It's hit or miss, really. Even in an ENT office where you go and you say, I can't smell, I haven't smelled since I had, this virus or this head injury. Some places will test you and some won't, because there's no reimbursement code in insurance for testing sense of smell. You have to pair it with another thing. It can be done, but getting the test reimbursed, getting the physician's time reimbursed, all of those are things that are not standard right now. And until that happens, we probably won't see people getting their sense of smell checked the way they get their vision checked, for example.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a very important message to end on, is that not only do we need to continue to spread the knowledge of olfaction, or of the specialization or expertise of olfactory, I don't know how to say it, but in many of these fields, we see that there's only a few of us in when it comes to the sense of smell. And so I know I've said it before, but it's really important that we continue to spread that knowledge, and at the same time that the sense of smell becomes a tool where we know, okay, if you test the sense of smell, you might know then that you have a certain disease or this. And I think right now we still are questioning our sense of smell so much that we don't see it as a tool that can uncover other things. So I think those are two very important points that you mentioned. So thank you so much for bringing those two up.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today, Pamela, and for taking your time. I really learned a lot and enjoyed interviewing you.
Sophia, it's been a wonderful experience chatting with you, and your Odor Europa project is something that I'm vitally interested in and look forward to hearing more about in the future. Thank you for having me.